We need to work on these opens. I never know what to do.
Should we try again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Susie!
Hello, Sarah, and all the Brainiacs. Yay!
We're back. Can you believe it?
We're back. It's episode 324.
I'd say better than ever, but no, just like regular.
Yeah, we're not better. Better than ever. We peaked at like 280, but we just are going to keep doing these. Who cares?
Yeah, that's the plan. And now pressure's on because I didn't know that this was like the rule that like professors and people who, are in like higher positions at school, like can't like follow us on social media or we can't have any like online connection. But as soon as we graduate, it's like no rules. So my director was like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited. In a few days, I'm going to be able to listen to your podcast." And I was like, "Oh no."
Sarah, you must hate that.
I'm like, "Oh my God, this is awful."
The only way it could be worse is if they could or chose to watch the challenge reruns.
Right. Fair.
Oh. Although you never did anything embarrassing, but just being on the show is embarrassment enough.
You know what? I'm glad you brought this subject up because I have been getting, so you know how I always do. I'll get those messages underneath my photos that are like, "Are you coming back to the challenge?
Sure.
When are you coming back? We miss you so much." And I keep seeing these posts that are like, "Sarah, don't worry. Like the fans like know that like even though you got screwed over, like you can come back."
Come on.
Like the reason I'm not coming back or not that I haven't gone in the last few seasons is because I'm worried what the people will think. Guys,
really
I'm busy
bizarre.
living my life. Like
Why would
it is
they think that?
strange. It's so weird. I couldn't even it's hard for me to even put into words like what the tone of these messages that I get on Twitter are. And, like, I'll look at the photos I'm tagged in, and it'll be like, "She should know that, there's always a spot for her." I'm like, well, thanks, guys, but not interested. Don't save it for me.
What do you think gives them the impression that you're just sitting around waiting for a phone call?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Because, like, full schedule over here, guys. Fully booked.
That's
New
terrible.
clients at crisis. Yeah, I was joking. I was at Michael's Arts and Crafts the other day, and this woman who was working there was like, "Oh my gosh, can I ask you a weird question? Are you that girl from the challenge?" Like, and then she was like, "Why aren't you doing challenges anymore?" I'm like, "Oh, well, in a week I graduate and get my master's in therapy, so I'll be a therapist." And she was like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry you're not doing challenges." I'm like, "Well, I'm not. How about congratulations? You're still in grad school." So like, you just like, it's so weird. Like, people are sad when I give them the answer that I got my master's and I'm going to be a therapist.
You know what's weird to me about that, though, is, first of all, it's opposite world where the wrong things are valued, right? So going on a garbage show is better than getting a master's in their eyes.
Yes.
However, if you keep doing the show, then they think you're a loser.
Right. You can't win.
You really can't.
Yeah. So what's that about, sis?
I don't know, but it is a problem and it kind of makes me crazy. So
yeah.
I don't know the answer. It just seems so wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Obviously it's not personal or anything. It's just that the human brain, like the viewer in this case, really can't figure out what they want in a way.
Right.
Like they'll watch the show, but they think the people on it are losers and they want you on it, but don't go for too long. I don't know. Yeah,
you really can't win. I'm trying to think of like any exceptions, but I can't think of any.
Well, I'm happy that you aren't on the show and that you're a master. They should call you a mastress.
Oh, well, Brain Candy Brainiacs out there. Susie was so sweet, and she sent me a beautiful orchid that I opened up, and the card said, "Congratulations, Master Sarah." And I was like, oh, I'm going to use that forever.
Yeah, you're like Master Splinter on...
Yeah, forget Doctor. Who needs that? Sorry, Sus.
Master is way cooler.
Seems like it holds more,
Yeah, it seems like you have such authority.
Yeah, I like that authority. Somebody who's so scared of it from others.
Right. You don't mind being the one to bring it, though.
Right. You know, before we change the subject, I do have to say shout out to, believe it or not, I never thought I would say this one.
Oh my God.
That West Defender. He's on Instagram, but he did the other day, did like a, and since I'm going to be talking about all the people who say the wrong things, might as well call out somebody who said the right thing. He did a list of like WCW, like Women Crush Wednesday, of like top 5 women on the challenge. And I somehow made the list at number 5. And he said that the last line says, she was 22 years old, showing us how overcoming sexual assault and proved that anyone can do anything on the challenge if they try hard enough. Now she's thriving in grad school. Well, thank you. Thank you, West Defender.
That feels
totally
right.
saw me, recognized me, and also is giving props and respect to what I'm doing now. That's like the
cool.
first time that has happened, and also the first time, like, that like just came up on my feed like this morning, and so I gotta say, somebody did the right thing.
That feels good. And
yes, it does.
I think the Brainiacs are very proud of you and happy.
Oh, they are the best. Shout out to Kara. Oh my God, I do that every single time. Shout out to Kara, who wrote me a nice letter, and it was like delivered to my house with a nice little seal. She did one of those like fancy, wax seals on it, just like congratulating me, and I just feel so much love. It's the best.
Who is this person?
Kara from the Kara. I do that every single time. Kara McSweeney from the show.
Oh, Kara. Yeah. That's why I wasn't sure, because when you say Kara, then I think you mean Cara Maria.
I know. I do it every single time because in my head I always confuse the two, and then
Kara McSweeney. She's the best. She's a sweetheart.
The best. So sweet.
So okay, we will change the subject, and
yes.
First, I want to talk about how well, actually, when this comes out, you'll be about to be going on your road trip, which you claim is your baby making road trip. And I'm wondering, are you going to wear your Ava bracelet on your journey?
Absolutely. I am so excited that I have something that is going to be so much more reliable than a lot of the other, sort of app trackers and stuff. And that didn't work for me. They were way off. I need something that looks at more of my biological
it's more personal
stuff. Yes.
So Ava Bracelet is a company that helps women track their cycle, whether they're maybe trying to get pregnant or if they just want to know, what's going on in their body. Because there's so much variation amongst women. Like, we think of the cycle as being sort of set, but it sure as heck isn't.
Mine isn't, so there you go.
Ava is clinically proven to detect the 5 most fertile days of your cycle. So, like Sarah, if you're popping in your Airstream and want to get down and get pregnant, you can wear this. You wear it at night, and it is comfortable and stylish, but it only needs to be worn while you're sleeping. And it really will track what is going on in your body and when maybe you should, if you're trying, do the nasty and then get preggers. Ladies, it's finally time to understand your body. Visit avawomen.com to learn more. And for listeners of our program, you get $20 off your order by going to avawomen.com/braincandy and use our code BRAINCANDY. That's avawomen.com/braincandy. Code BRAINCANDY for wherever you are in life and whatever you want to know about your body. I saw on their website that there's an option where you can get one, and it has some sort of guarantee if you get pregnant within a year or something. Did you see that option?
I did not, but
and I was like, that's what I would go for.
I just picked the standard model, but I feel like the amount of money that I spend on freaking ovulation sticks, they're so expensive.
Yeah,
and I was using them buying that 3-pack every month.
Well, remember
it's so
when you
great
bought
to have
those,
something that.
You bought those super cheap ones at first. And we couldn't even figure out how to work them.
Correct. Yeah, that was the stick that I used. They also included in the ovulation pack, because I bought the cheap pack that was a million of them. And they're like, here, 5 free pregnancy tests that were equally as awful in detecting that. And that was how we found out we were pregnant, but we were really not sure. And it was so we had to go out and buy 4 other pregnancy tests. So don't do that stuff. Don't waste your time or money.
I want to talk about, because we need to sort of close out the discussion about that Instagram troll that we were going to call. And,
right.
Okay. So we told you guys how I had this troll and I wanted to have him on the show to talk about how he was inappropriate on my Instagram when he said, like, made a joke about my boobs in a picture where I was with my son. Anyway, we scheduled a time where Sarah and I were going to call him. Sarah and I tried 3 times to call this guy. And we were starting to think maybe he gave us the wrong number or something, to punk us.
Right.
And then after we recorded that day, I saw on my Instagram, he left me a mean message under one of the pictures saying, like, I can't believe you. You didn't call me after all. And you called me out in front of your blah, 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 but you never even called, whatever. Then I sent him a private message and I was like, dude, we tried to call you a bunch of times and it said it wouldn't go through. And he was like, you're as fake as the things hanging off your chest.
Oh, hell no.
Sarah.
I can go through all my favorite curse words right now.
What the heck?
Right.
I
He
mean,
was just looking for anything.
For sure.
And felt, you know what? I just went to this training on this like form of couples therapy that looks at any problem or any like reactions that we have as really just us playing out our vulnerabilities. Where anytime we become reactive, it's never the problem. It's never what we're arguing about. It's never the phone. Like, for example, in this situation, it's not the phone call. It's the vulnerability that missing the phone call or that response or whatever brought out, like triggered in us, where it's like all of a sudden he doesn't have the power. He feels powerless. And so that triggers a vulnerability in him that makes him have to defend that vulnerability by lashing out with, and like however people defend or like that vulnerability is like their survival stance. So they'll either be like the placater or they'll be the blamer and like point the finger, or they'll be like the martyr and, you know, or they're really like super logical where it's like, well, here was the time and you didn't say it. Like however they respond is like it's very consistent.
Right. Well, his pattern seems to be misogyny.
The blamer. Yeah, he's the blamer.
Right. He's the blaming misogynist.
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, so we were going to have a conversation about how you're going to do better and not comment about women's bodies, and then you get mad and comment on my body. Okay.
Right.
So I was glad that we didn't get through to him. It was a blessing in disguise because that's not the kind of person that I want to amplify.
Right. You don't want to give that voice a platform.
No. But I just wanted to give people a follow-up. That's what ended up happening. So there's no closure, but there is a sense of, I hate his guts.
Yeah. I was thinking so much after our conversation a couple, maybe it was like a week or two ago, just about the confidence of the white male and how it's like even, I don't understand it. I don't have that same thing that makes them say, well, they said no to me, but that just is a no now. What about tomorrow? No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
I see it in my own son, though. I see someone who is irrationally confident.
It's like a sense of entitlement that we don't know, like, how the heck did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole world tells them all the time that their opinions matter, so they really believe it.
Yeah. Oh
Imagine if we did that with girls. It'd be nice.
Imagine.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Your opinion counts. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
So that's
so strange.
Yeah, that's depressing.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up for you about the Pooperintendent.
Oh, my gosh. Please.
You're going to be so happy.
Oh, God. This is great. Tell me.
It's almost annoying to me how right you are all the time.
Oh, yes. I love a sentence that starts like that.
So the Pooperintendent, first of all, is angry that the police released his mugshot. So I think he might even be suing them for defamation or something.
Defamation. That sounds too close to defecation and too hilarious of a headline that this guy's just walking into.
And he claims that Sarah's theory is correct, that he simply has runner's diarrhea.
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. What if they like listened to the podcast and it was like, perfect defense, IBS it is.
Yep. Sarah claimed, so this Pooperintendent is a superintendent at a school who was caught pooping on the school's track. And I think it was a repeated offense.
Yes.
And eventually they had been wondering, like, who's pooping on the thing. Okay, let's say you have runner's diarrhea. This
Correct.
A real thing.
Yeah.
You still have to clean it up.
Right. Well, and also if you know, okay, so it's something that happened repeatedly. So if you like, there are solutions to this, you know. Landon and I used to run together in the mornings, and we would always make sure to have our really strong coffee before and hit the restroom before.
Yeah.
And
let it out.
That's like what you do, and then you go on your run.
Yes.
You do have somewhat of you have some sort of control over your body.
Well, and you know they have products that you can wear if you might leak or something.
Yeah. And like, how many times do you shit on the side of the track before you go, maybe I should, like, you know,
get a treadmill.
Yeah, something. And wasn't he going to, it was another school though, right?
I believe it was his school, but I don't know.
Okay. See, that makes more sense. Like, because I was under the impression that it was another school too, and that this was something out of like revenge shitting or something.
Revenge.
You know? But knowing that it's on his own track is like,
I love
there's no malice here.
Allegedly. Yeah, he claims he has a condition. But as I said, that condition does not include your inability to clean up after your own diarrhea.
Yeah.
Are
there laws about that? Like, yes, there's got to be, right? I mean, if we got to clean up after our dog, you probably have to clean up after your own shit.
For sure. You're not even supposed to go in.
Yeah. Good. Also, good point.
At any rate, I don't know what will end up happening, but he did lose his job. I wonder if he had to, like, serve time.
God, could you imagine? What are you in here for? Murder. What are you in here for? Pooping.
Runner's diarrhea.
IBS.
I just have some bad luck. Some shitty luck, as it were.
Some shitty luck. Oh, my God.
And I don't know what it says about us. Yes, I do. That people are tagging us in, like, these updates. Susie, here's the update on the Pooperintendent for your show.
Because they know we need to know, and we love this, and this is gold. This is right in our wheelhouse.
Like, I don't want to admit it, but it is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so Pooperintendent, that's kind of gross and stinky, and we don't like stinky.
Nope.
And as a result, Sarah and I use Myro deodorant.
Yep, keep it in my work bag.
Here, do you really?
100%.
That's really a good idea, actually. I should probably keep one in the car.
Because I got to re-up halfway through the day, you know, because, like, it gets,
she gets intense.
Gal. Yeah.
Myro is a great deodorant option, especially if you, like me, are trying to cut down on your waste, which is something both Lincoln and I are trying to do together. And so they send you a holder that you then put in the refills of your deodorant each month, so you have far less waste. And I always worried that the kind of, what do you call them? The kind without the chemicals and stuff, the natural deodorant.
Yeah.
I always worried that they don't really work because some of the ones I've tried didn't. But this really works for me, and it's a custom blend of essential oils that release over time. They keep you fresh. It's not like it just covers it up. It really works. And you can choose your scent, and you also can choose the color of your case. And then you get a refresh every 3 months delivered straight to your door. And so it's refillable and good for the planet, but also works, which is really all you can ask.
I love the scents.
Me too.
They're like none of that like weird powdery, like I don't want to smell like baby powder.
Right.
This is like
They're
smell
fresh.
like an actual person, not a baby.
Right. And you can get the deal today. You get 50% off your first order and get started today for just $5. Visit myro.com/braincandy and use code candy. Again, That's 50% off your first order. Get started today for just $5. Visit MyMyro, that's MyMyro.com/braincandy, and use code CANDY. Awesome.
Well, I have a funny story about another sort of wrongdoing that somebody righted, I guess.
Okay.
Or tried to fight back against. So there's this guy who now I can't remember his name. Dang, I should have written down his name to give this guy credit. But we'll find it. So he kept having packages stolen off of his front porch. The Amazon packages, like delivered. And he lives in a neighborhood where there's a lot of people who can walk by. And people, I didn't know people were doing this a lot, but they are. This is like a thing. Stealing packages off of the front porch. So he put up some cameras and he's like, okay, I need to find out who's doing this. And sure enough, there are like multiple people who are stealing boxes off of his porch. So the guy's like, man, I really what am I going to do? Oh, wait, I'm an ex-NASA engineer, which he was, who, by the way, this guy is so handsome. I mean, you would think that he's definitely supposed to be on the cover of I don't know, a magazine or something.
Wow.
And then he tells you he's a NASA engineer. And I'm like, oh, be still my heart. So handsome, so smart. And he's like, well, I'm going to invent something and I'm going to show these guys, what's up. So he created this box that looks like an Amazon electronic, looks like it's going to be one of those Alexa or whatever things. And he set it up so there are cameras that can see, you hold the box and the way the cameras are positioned and the way that they're holes cut in the box, in any direction you hold this box, you get a full view of a 360 view of the everything that this box sees. So you see the person, you see where they are, you see what they're doing. And he made this box so when you try to open it, it's essentially a booby trap. When you open it, it has, Suze, we would both be so upset if we picked up this box.
Glitter?
Yes!
No.
Good guess! So he created this essentially a glitter cannon. And when you pull it up, it's this thing that spins really, really fast and uses centrifugal force to just spray the finest glitter he could find, the finest glitter that they even manufacture.
Oh my God.
So intense, right? In all these different colors. And he put that in the box so when you open it up, it explodes. But that wasn't it. He also set it up so there's this can of, no joke, this is what it's called, fart spray. And he set it up so that it sprays 5 sprays every 30 seconds until you get rid of this box.
What?
And then he put GPS, he put phones in there with the cameras so you can GPS track where the box is, find its location, go pick it up, see who did it. And the video, 4 people, this worked on 4 different people, and he has all the videos. You can watch the montage of people opening it and being pissed about it. And one guy, the glitter just sprays everywhere, and he just stares at the camera, and the underneath the little the screen says contemplates his life. He just stares, contemplates his life choices, and it's just glitter everywhere. And my favorite part, aside from the glitter, was that he labeled all the boxes, the return labels and everything on the box. The package was addressed to Kevin McAllister with the address from the exact address of the house from Home Alone.
This is so great.
It's great. And the package, the return address is the 2 burglars.
Oh my God.
It's so perfect.
This guy is our dream man.
I know. He really is. When you see the video, which I absolutely am going to share because it's so good, you'll be like, oh my God, is he single? Is there a brainiac we can hook him up with?
Do you think he reports these people to the police or anything, or it's just for his own amusement?
I think it's just for his own amusement. Oh, you know what? That was it. He did try to go to the police. He told them, and they said it's really not worth our time. We can't, there's not much we can do.
Why?
This isn't worth it to us. it's too hard to find out who did it. They can't track it. This is happening so frequently. The packages like aren't over the dollar amount that would be like grand theft or whatever. And so people like just don't care about this.
That bums me out.
Yeah, it is really sad.
Like when my parking meter runs out, they're on top of that.
No joke.
Right. I just saw yesterday that if you use your cell phone in the car, like if they see you holding it or using your cell phone, out here it's $1,000 fine for the first offense, and you lose your license for 3 years.
Holy fuck!
Right. Which is great, but
it
oh
is
my
great.
God.
I didn't know that was the good thing I don't use my phone in the car. That, man,
that's
could you
intense.
imagine? Oh, Landon should definitely not be doing that. That would suck. 3 years of no license.
Right?
Oh, gosh.
I know.
And then you got to take the bus, and then people think that you got a DUI.
A DUI. Right, I'll see Landon on his bike.
Right.
Hey, Landon.
Just texting on my phone. No big deal.
Speaking of Amazon, I was reading this article about people that buy their wedding dresses on Amazon, and I thought that was really interesting because most of us, if we need something, that's pretty much a first place you go is like, oh, I'll just get it on Amazon. But it never occurred to me that you might buy a wedding dress on there. Would you ever do that?
What's the return policy?
Oh,
Can I drop it off at Kohl's without a box like you could do with my other Amazon stuff? In that case, if I can try it on.
I guess it made sense to me when I read that, if you are needing to get married quickly and, if your body type is the type that doesn't need a lot of alterations, then I guess it would be great because you can get them, it says, for as low as $70.
Oh, my God, yeah. And also, I'll say it again. My wedding dress was the least important part of probably the whole wedding to me.
Right.
I don't know why, and it's so strange because it's not what I would have thought would. I really didn't care. I was just happiest in the dress. I should have just bought it. The one that was like $200 from, David's Bridal, and I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
But then and I liked that. But then, the people I was with and my mom, they're like, no, you got such a budget for your dress. Go to the go get the. I didn't want that. I would have been super. And knowing me, I'm happier with something that was 75% off than I am with a full priced, something that would be perfect. I wouldn't like that one as much.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people for whom this would be a great option. And typically I'm more about encouraging people to shop at, boutiques or small businesses. But if you're in a pinch and you have a budget, this might be a good thing to try.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I also am not I think, used ones. Is that weird?
Yeah, for sure. I'm all for that.
Me too.
Because people only wear them once.
Right. It kills me that the cost per wear on mine is, woo.
I know. Would you ever sell it, though? Or are you saving it for your daughter or something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping it. But I feel like I wouldn't be the kind of mom who would force that on their child,
Yeah. You just keep it for sentimental reasons.
Yeah. Or I'll turn it into something. I'll make some, pillow out of the lace or something like that.
Yeah.
Be some different way to, But I didn't even get it cleaned afterwards.
Me neither.
It's just hanging there.
We're losers.
Probably has cake stains on it.
Cake.
I mean,
more like wine, if you had wine.
Yeah, I did. Definitely did.
I'll tell you what. One fabric that's not cheap at all is Fabletics.
Oh, I was just having a conversation with the girls at school about this, about how they're our favorite pants. And one of the gals, shout out to Bridget, was like, they don't pill. That's the best part.
Yeah.
She's like, I can wear these and all my other ones get destroyed. And we were talking about how much we loved the quality of the pants.
That's what I'm really taken by, because usually when you have something that's really affordable, you kind of get what you pay for.
Right.
And I hate that.
Correct.
And Fabletics is really affordable, but really high quality, which is impressive to me. And I think they're very flattering, the way that they fit my body. I don't know.
Yes, they are. Those high-waisted
Yeah. They have all different cuts, and the ones I like are all the high-waisted ones. But, I mean, they aren't just leggings either. I just got a little jacket, a white jacket, and it's so nice. And you can just, when you wash it, it gets super bright and beautiful. You know how white usually gets dingy? It's really beautiful and nice. I just wear it to like all of Lincoln's soccer games and stuff. And they have a really great deal for our listeners. They are giving you guys 2 pair of leggings for $24, which is almost half the price of a Lululemon sports bra. I mean, we're talking about,
my God.
You know, what you can get for $24 is just incredible. And you can get it at fabletics.com/braincandy when you sign up for the VIP program. Just go to fabletics.com/braincandy to take advantage of the deal. They have leggings. They have basically all the athleisure stuff that everyone always wants and that you can wear running around town or working out, whatever you're comfortable in. It's super cute. It's comfy. They have clothes that fit your curves and flatter you.
Yes.
It's just real nice. So fabletics.com/braincandy and get that deal. $24 for 2 pairs of leggings, which is a $99 value.
Yeah. My friend was like, oh, I don't know. Do I want to sign up for the VIP program? I don't know if I want. And then she's like, wait a sec. I can pause it every month? Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of great stuff. And it does encourage me to be more active. I need all the encouragement I can get.
Nothing makes me want to go work out more than a cute workout outfit.
Right?
Like, I got to show this bad boy off.
Okay. I have so many things to discuss. Is there something on your mind that you want to talk about first?
Lay it on me, sister.
Okay. So a woman's sex toy won.
I saw this. I'm so mad. Tell the people.
Okay, so there was a robotics award that the winner was a woman's sex toy, and then it was revoked because they claimed that in the rules, nothing can win if it's, crude or offensive or whatever, which when I first read it, I thought, okay, well, that's fair. It's in the rules. And then it said, but men's sex toys win all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. It's infuriating.
Like, they had every single year entries and winners that were those, like, virtual reality. There was even virtual reality porn.
Right. And that's okay.
That was
with
okay.
them. But
I can't even with this story.
But help me understand, because when I hear these stories, which I feel like I'm hearing them more and more, I just don't get how this comes to be, why men's behavior is seen as acceptable and when women do it, it's seen as crude. It's just, how does that double standard begin?
Where did this, the thing I didn't read in the article was where this took place.
That is a good point.
I feel like it was in Japan or China or some.
Oh, really?
East. Like, I don't think it was in the United States.
I'll look.
Yeah.
And what would that mean to you?
I think it has maybe something to do with just gender in wherever this is, like, I don't know.
So you think it's a cultural thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is messed up, and we absolutely need to. And they said they're updating the rules. But this is
the one in next year's in Las Vegas. So
okay, well there goes my theory.
I don't know about
it's
last
not.
year.
This is just okay. This is international.
I mean,
this isn't like
that is so annoying to me. And how did it get to the point where it won? Which and then
because I think it was voted on. I think it's one of those things where it's voted on, and then they went, whoa, hang on, look at that winner. That can't be, right. And then revoked it, and then there was so much backlash and people going, excuse me, that 3 months later they reinstated the award to, or I don't know, whatever you call it. They gave it back essentially.
I just don't know what to say, but it's infuriating, and I'm happy that they gave the award back, and they're just trying to cover up being like, well, we're looking into it and trying to make things fair. Well, it's real easy. Just do it. Don't disqualify women for the same work that you reward men for.
It's just, and the fact that this was first of all, I want to know what the heck the sex toy is, and now I'm going to need it because, like, this is clearly the best thing out there.
Right? What's so great about this thing?
Well, yeah, I'm like, come on, we get to share, please. But the fact that it was designed, I wonder if it would have been different if it were designed by a man.
Right.
Because this was designed by a woman.
Right. It's a woman's product.
Laura
and
DiCarlo is her name.
Good point.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, okay. So the article that I just pulled up says the CTA, which is like the Consumer Technology Association. So I think it was voted on by the public, Consumer Technology Association. It said they're returning Laura DiCarlo's award, but it isn't ready to discuss what kind of changes will be implemented to make the conference more inclusive in the future. Like, not ready? Let's see. Come on.
Yeah.
That means they're like still deciding how they're going to make it unfair to women somehow.
I'm really tired of that idea of, is the world ready for a woman president, or is the world ready for a black whatever? Like, stop asking that question. What does that even mean?
Yeah. Are people asking that question?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck off.
You know, the media, they tend to frame things that way. Like, is the world ready for this thing that they should be ready for?
Like implying that we in some way, like, this is something to be fearful of, or like...
Yeah, just sort of like, let's slow things down. Like, one thing at a time, everybody. Oh, you want to go in whatever bathroom you want? Pump the brakes on this equality. You know, that kind of thing.
Oh, my God. Yes. Another interesting thing that was about this year where this award was revoked, it was the same year that the CTA launched a $10 million venture to, quote, fund women, people of color, and other underrepresented startups and entrepreneurs to improve representation. Well, good job doing the opposite of what you set out to do that year, guys.
My God. As long as nobody's sexual, okay? Just the men are allowed to be sexual.
Just the men. I mean, come on.
It's infuriating.
I read it, and I was like, well, guaranteed we're going to be talking about this tomorrow.
Were we tagged in that? Probably. I think we were.
Probably.
Yeah. People know it. People know how to make us angry.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so crazy.
Kind of speaking of sex stuff, I saw that Pornhub is donating to bee conservation for every time someone watches one of their Beesexual videos, which are just bees banging and like pollinating flowers and stuff, and they're narrated by adult film stars.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, they said they wanted to help with the bee problem because 70% of food is directly from bees banging flowers. And so that's how they decided to do it, and I thought it was really funny.
Oh, my friend Courtney, shout out to Courtney, told me this like true fact the other day that made me like, whoa, the patriarchy. We were having one of those conversations.
Yeah.
And, like you do.
What else?
And she was saying that we can even blame like the patriarchy for allergies. And I was like, go on. So when people who are like designing cities and especially like what flowers and plants they're going to put in it, things like that, they tend to only choose male plants because they like reproduce faster. There's something about why they chose male plants. And because the majority of plants that get planted are male plants, they don't do the same stuff that female plants do. Like female plants are there to like pollinate and like grow, and more plants grow, and like you can like more biodiversity when you include female plants. And because they chose like, I don't even know how they did this or what it was, but the majority of plants that get planted or even like grown tend to be more like male plants. And it affects the pollination and like allergies and how everything like works together. And the plants won't thrive because there aren't enough females.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Yeah. And I got to find some article that shows the details of that. But she was telling me all about this, and she's always right with her information. So I was like, oh, definitely sharing that.
This is going to sound silly, but I didn't realize plants had genders in that way. I know that, like, for instance, certain bushes, like the holly bush, there's a male and a female, and, you know, you need both to whatever the heck that's called, germinate or pollinate or whatever. But is that true for all plants?
I think they're like male and female parts of plants and things like that. I have to like do some research on. There's
That's
like
weird.
Different parts of those plants. But there was something that she, I'm going to find the research on this, but it was basically like she was saying, they're planting the wrong kind of plants and they're not planting ones that.
They're patriarchal plants. That's all I need to know.
Essentially, yes. That's all I need to know. Yep.
The other thing that I need to know is how to manage my finances and all the administrative stuff of running a small business, which is a pain in my behind. And HoneyBook is helping me do that now. HoneyBook is such a great system for anybody who's a person who has a small business, especially people like me who are in the creative industry and can't be bothered with invoicing and keeping things organized in the way that I should. And HoneyBook consolidates services I already use like QuickBooks, Google Suite, and MailChimp. So if you're a photographer, a designer, an entrepreneur, whatever, you can save hundreds to thousands of hours a year by using HoneyBook to keep everything organized. It's such a great idea. And right now, HoneyBook is offering our listeners 50% off your first year with promo code BrainCandy. Payment's flexible, and the promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. Go to honeybook.com and use promo code BrainCandy for 50% off your first year. Get paid faster and work smarter with honeybook.com. Promo code BrainCandy. Keep that in mind, Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just did a quick Google search because I was like, I need to get some more information on this.
What'd you find
And
out?
I pulled up an article from Scientific American, and the title of the article is Botanical Sexism Cultivates Homegrown Allergies.
Oh my God.
You may be surprised to learn that decades of botanical sexism in urban landscapes have contributed to your watery eyes and itchy nose.
I'm so excited about if I ever have a band, I'm going to call it
God,
Botanical
this is so
Sexism.
Crazy. Arborists often claim that all male plants are litter-free because they shed no messy seeds, fruits, or pods. In the 1949 USDA Yearbook of Agriculture, which focused on trees and forests, the advice was given to readers, when used for street planting, only male trees should be selected to avoid the nuances from seeds. In the years following, the USDA produced and released that news into the market, and almost 100 new red maples and hybrid maples were made with every single one, and every single one of them was male. So they planted all these male trees, and it basically made it so there aren't female trees to balance it out, and it created this huge pollen problem and allergy problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Botanical sexism.
Yes. Is
Who
that
knew?
crazy?
Yes.
I'm definitely putting this article in the newsletter because she said that, and I was like, no way. And I was like, let's see. Sure enough. Courtney's right. She always is.
So they prefer male plants because they're neater and not as messy. It's like the opposite of human males.
Oh my God, that's so true.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, and then turns out that those things that are that mess that you didn't want to clean up are exactly what we need for the plants to pollinate, for them to grow, for them to multiply, for them to for lack of a better word, grow roots and spread into the city and do what plants are supposed to do and keep the air clean and blah, blah, blah. Nope.
Wow. Good to know. Now I can be mad at people who are planting things too.
Yes.
I'm just going to have to make a list of all the people
That's
I'm
like that
angry
one, and this was, what did it say, like 1949 or something? This is what happens, is that, once again, that little piece of information
right.
that gets out there and then catches, it's like takes off and then it gets spread and it's incorrect.
Don't you love that you have a smart friend who told you about this?
Yes, I totally love it.
Yeah.
It's the best.
My God.
And I love when I find a friend who's like me, who's like, oh, I found this article. Oh, I found this article. I'm like, yes, send them to me. It's so great.
Well, what's the plan with that? Are they just going to keep doing it, or are they trying to undo the botanical sexism, or what?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to have
just
to
stuck
read on.
forever?
I mean, I think we should be planting way more. I think we should look at Singapore as a, like a model. I wonder what trees they're using over there.
What makes you think that they're the model?
I think they've done a really great, since it's a newer city, they've done a really great job integrating nature in with the cityscape. So all of their, not all, but a lot of their buildings have rooftop gardens, or they have the sides of the buildings are all plants down the whole side. They've really made an effort to like make it really green and like blend nature and, you know, technology.
All right. Well, we got progress to make then.
Yeah. See more plants. Now I'm going to go to the plant store and be like, where are your female plants?
They're
going to be like,
I'm
sorry, what?
Up.
I know. It totally does. But it's like one of those things where you can like seedless watermelon kind of thing.
Right.
I think they like breed them so that they don't have these like
gotcha.
They don't drop a lot of leaves, and then in the process they're like, oh, actually unintended consequences by doing that. So
okay. Seasonal allergies.
Yep.
Did you see the post that I put up on the Brain Candy Instagram a couple weeks ago? It was in reference to an article by The Cut where they were asking, what secret items do you keep in your underwear drawer?
Oh, I think I did see a little bit of that.
Because I just thought that was funny because, I don't know, I think a lot of people keep something in there other than underwear.
I know. I'm like, oh, mine's just underwear.
Oh, really? You don't keep anything else in there?
The only thing that I have a lavender sachet pack that also goes in there to make things smell nice. I don't know why.
So you don't keep any kind of like special, sentimental thing?
In my underwear. Nothing. It's very organized. Just bras and underwear. They share the same drawer.
Huh.
Every now and then a tag that I rip off and then I'm too lazy to throw in the trash, so I just shove in there too.
I'm surprised because you have so many sentimental things.
Yeah. Well, I have a special trunk that I put them in.
Right, that's true.
I keep my sentimental things in their sentimental place.
Let me see if I can find some of people's responses. They were real funny. A lot of people kept like cards, special sentimental cards.
My mom did. I remember growing up, my mom, like, I was like a snooper, like a kid who looked in every single drawer. I loved doing that. Oh, I was so snoopy.
I still do.
Yep, same. I apologize for nothing. I'm like, I'm just organizing a drawer / snooping. So she kept bizarre things in there. I think I've even mentioned this before. She kept my grandfather's and my dog's ashes were in a little drawer. She had a very big top underwear drawer. And also like little like cards. She had like cards from, I don't know when. She just had like a little box in there that had sentimental stuff. And it was in her underwear drawer.
It's funny how that is a thing. It's almost like your brain just thinks this is intimates. And so, you know,
that's probably it.
Yeah. And people maybe not even aware of it. It just comes with, I don't know, their brain.
Yeah.
One girl said she keeps her diary in there.
Classic. Yeah.
The obituary my dad wrote for himself. He's nowhere near close to passing.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
That's funny. I feel like you would do something like that.
It totally is.
Right? You're like, this is what I would like it to say, people.
Her last one, though, is dog's teeth. Her dog's teeth.
Okay, well, that's close to the dog's ashes.
True. Yeah. And then someone else said, can I tell you the abundance of baby teeth my husband has kept? What on earth are you supposed to do with them? I mean, that's common, though.
Yes, it is. I'm going to be like that for sure.
Hope says she keeps all her shady shit in the nightstand.
Shady shit. Yeah. That's where I keep mine. And it's really weird. I've got like my childhood stuffed animal that I love. Shout out to Lammy. And it happens to be in the same drawer as my female sex toy.
Interesting.
It's like, I always feel I'm like, I don't know if you guys should share the same drawer.
Well, it's basically like your childhood toy and your grown-up toy.
Yes, exactly. I don't use them together, for the record.
Somebody says candy. She's got to hide it from her husband. And then this is funny. Receipts to hide the evidence of my secret shopping extravaganzas from my husband.
Okay, I get that. You know what's so funny? Okay, that is the drawer where I do hide tags, but I have the opposite problem where I'll buy things at like Nordstrom Rack, and then I'll have to take off the sale tag and leave the high price tag on it so that my husband doesn't think I'm cheaping out and buying cheap clothes, because he's like, stop shopping at Forever 21. Stop buying disposable clothes.
You're the opposite.
Stop it. I have the opposite problem, really. He's like, can you like actually like take care of, like, don't buy the things that like, you know.
Oh my God, I love him.
I know.
That's my favorite thing.
Right?
I just love when because Adam's like that too. Like he encourages me to buy stuff. And I think
we don't do it that often.
True, yeah.
That's it. If we were like big spenders, it would be different. But he's like, honey, you don't have to live like your 21-year-old college student anymore.
I've grown more into that. I think we've talked about this too, about how, especially for something, clothing that you want to get the most out of, buying cheap isn't always the best,
Correct.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with me that I will find something that I love, but it's full price, and I'm like, nope, I won't buy it. I'm not deserving of that.
Yeah,
and
that's
then I'll find something on a sale rack that I kind of like, and I'll be like, okay, that I deserve. Like, but I don't like it as much,
That makes me sad.
I know. I got to get over that. That is that is a silly thing to do, and I'm trying really hard to because the things that I have, just said, Sarah, just save up and just get it for yourself. I really always really like, and I need to do more of that than just
Well, because you value it more and you appreciate how much time it took to save and all of that.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, I do buy the disposable clothes, but for a white T-shirt, I mean, for goodness sakes,
they get ruined anyway. You might as well buy
right.
cheap.
So that's why I have to hide the Forever 20. I'm like, I just bought white shirts, so I have to hide the Forever 21 tags. So that's what the drawer I hide those in until I can get them to the trash can.
One thing you should not be keeping in drawers is all those videotapes and reels from your childhood videos, all that stuff that you never get to watch because they're just collecting dust, put away. And you should preserve it digitally with Legacy Box. I can't tell you how valuable this is as a gift. I got for my mom so that she could digitize her photos and videos that she has. If, all of those holidays coming up that you're thinking, oh, what should I get people I love? This is such a nice gift. And then you guys can enjoy your memories together. Who doesn't love that?
You know what I think people should do? Well, here's my little suggestion.
Okay.
For a person's birthday or for Father's Day or whatever day or Christmas or whatever, get them this gift. Then they digitalize get all your videos from whatever that time period is. And even if you were able to do all the videos of birthdays, and then every year on that person's birthday, you can just watch the videos again.
That's a nice idea.
I think people should do that. Or if you have somebody who passes away, I think it's really important to do something that's a memory of them. And every year you sit down with the family and you make a new, tradition of watching those because they just sit and we can't enjoy them, and there's so much joy that comes from watching those videos from when we were younger and watching them all together as a family. Do that stuff. It's so great.
Yeah, because then you have the event that happened, and then you have the memories of watching it together. So
yes,
cumulative.
Oh, so lovely.
There's never been a better time to digitally preserve your memories. Visit legacybox.com today to get started. Plus, for a limited time, they're offering our listeners an exclusive discount. Go to legacybox.com/brain to get 40% off your first order. Go to legacybox.com/brain and save 40% today. Get started preserving your past. We have a guest today.
Oh, yay.
I'm really excited about her. Her name is Aisha Akhtar. She's a doctor. Hold on. Pardon me. And she wrote a wonderful book called Our Symphony with Animals on health, empathy, and our shared destinies. It is so good, Sarah.
I love this. This is just like my Robert Sapolsky guy who talks about this kind of link.
Yes. She does an amazing job describing why animals make us better humans.
Oh, I'm loving this. They do. We definitely need to look at the natural world for basically all of our lessons on how to be.
I'm getting chills because it's so good.
Oh,
she describes an experience growing up where she was sexually abused by a family member and how she physically lost her voice. She quit talking. And she talks about how language is one of the last things that evolved in humans. And so it's one of the first things to go when we're traumatized or, experiencing something terrible. And what she learned through that was how we can communicate with animals. We don't need language in the traditional sense. And so she started exploring how that relationship works. And some of the things she did were so compelling to me. She visited a serial killer in jail who, you know how serial killers often abuse animals in their childhood. And so she wanted to explore that and what that looks like. And she found some really surprising things about this man's relationship with animals. And it's not just sort of, he didn't care and so he murdered them or whatever. It's really complicated.
Yes.
And it provides so much insight into the human mind.
This is amazing.
And behavior. You will love it.
I'm so excited right now. This is so great.
You're the
I'm
best.
reading that book. Like,
I think you will love it.
Because it's so true. Anybody who has a pet, like, they know. You can come in and be in, like, not such a good mood, and your dog will come right over and put his paw on, like, you do not have to communicate with words.
Yes.
When you connect to an animal. And I know this, when I went and I, like, swam with a dolphin, I looked in that dolphin's eyes, and I knew it. Like,
yes.
It could connect. It was the craziest feeling. I was like, this animal is looking into my soul right now. It knows what I'm thinking.
Yes.
What is happening?
And I think
knew
you're
it.
right.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Yeah, when I've been at the zoo, even when I've seen those gorillas, I've had moments where I'm like, I think I just had a connection with this animal.
Yeah, and I know that's a real thing.
And she does such a good job of providing these stories and personal narratives, but then uses science to show what's really going on with the body and the brain. It's great.
Yes. Oh, well.
You'll love it.
I know my next book club pick.
So
Easy.
you guys should read it too, but please listen to this interview. I think you'll find it really interesting. Aisha Akhtar, our Symphony with Animals on Health, Empathy, and Our Shared Destinies. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Susie. Thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations on your beautiful book. How are you feeling now that people are reading it and commenting and all that jazz?
You know, there's always a little bit of anxiety. You hope people like the book. You hope people think it's written well. And that the most important thing for me is that I hope people are influenced by the book.
Yeah.
You know, that was ultimately the goal, is to try to, you know, get people to start thinking about how we think about animals as a whole, not only our companion animals, but all animals, and maybe, you know, inspire them to seek out a kinder world.
Well, you did such a great job, and I was so impressed with how you provide great storytelling and narratives and examples of other folks who have experienced the healing of animals, but then you also provide a lot of data that I think people will be persuaded by, don't you think?
Absolutely, and that was my goal. I'd written an academic book previously on some of the same subjects, but, you know, it's an academic book. It can get pretty dry. So this time I really wanted a book that would go out to the average reader, that was framed by narrative, but with the science and the data, you know, woven into it. Because we know that most people, we learn through stories.
Yeah.
And information sticks better through stories. So that was a definite goal of mine.
Were you nervous at all to share elements of your own personal life?
You know, it's funny because, you know, I'm talking about my past sexual abuse, and then the repercussions I still experiencing depression today. I don't think so. I didn't feel any anxiety about sharing that. You know, we now are living in a world where people are sharing perhaps more than we need to all the time. So there's no stigma anymore, or not as much, about sharing this kind of information. So that was never my concern. My concern was I didn't want this to be a depressing book by any means, because even though I'm talking about some hard-hitting subjects, I wanted this overall to be an inspiring, optimistic, hopeful book.
Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, is I didn't want this book to be about me. It's about all of us. I just used my past story to introduce the topic and to introduce the theme of empathy for animals, and to show how now, as a neurologist, I'm exploring empathy for animals and why.
Yeah, that's the word I would use, is inspiring, for the book, because, yeah, there's some sad elements about it, and living on this planet, there's sad elements of living in this world, but you did such a great job of saying, here's the good news, and here's how the interaction with animals can make our lives better. So it's beautiful.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
I was really intrigued by your visit to the slaughterhouses, and I was fascinated by the lady who like volunteered to take you on these tours and thought that this was going to make you change your mind about them. How the heck did she think that was going to help?
It's funny. So it was I was taken on a tour of several of the factory farms in Oklahoma with a dean of I'm blanking on the exact name of the school, but one of the universities, an agricultural school at the university in Oklahoma, one of the largest in the country. So, she was taking me, as you said, to sort of dispel what she thought were myths that I had about, the cruelty and the public health dangers of factory farms. And if anything, my tours it confirmed, not only confirmed, but it was even worse than I expected it. And, I think it's funny when, I don't know if you've heard of the term cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
It's an academic term people throw out where we kind of, we put aside information that goes against what we think, how we think things should be. So rather than when we're confronted by conflicting information, ingesting it and changing, perhaps because of that information, changing our behavior, changing our attitude, we kind of hold on to the initial attitude even more. And we compartmentalize the bits of information so that we can continue doing what we're doing, even if it confronts our own morality. So I think that was what was happening with the dean. I think she really did, in one way, when I was talking with her, she's a pleasant person, and she really did, on one hand, think that they were doing what was good for animals by confining chickens 5 to a cage where they barely turn around, they can't stretch their wings. And, but you get inklings. As I talked with her, and I got inklings of some doubts about how animals were being treated. And I definitely got that with the farmer himself. Definitely got with the farmer and his family, who were very much, they were confronted with the realities of how they were treating these chickens. And, they kept doing it. But as, in the book, they really had some real concerns and doubts about what they were doing.
Do you think that they continue to do it because, you got to make a living and this was just the sort of the family business? Or, I don't know. Why do you think? Because I don't think I'd be able to do that.
Yeah, I know, right? A lot of us, we say, I could never do that. I think that's what happens, is that people get into the business and in some ways, they almost feel trapped. So this particular farmer, as I was speaking with him, the more I got to understand that if he could go back in time, he would have done things differently.
Yeah.
And not gone into chicken or farming at all. So I think it's, it's what they've done, it's what they're used to, and it's what they'll continue to do until maybe, another generation comes in and says, we really don't want to take up the family business anymore, Dad. I think we're going to end it here.
Yeah. Well, I know that the causation is unclear in terms of when a slaughterhouse comes to town, and there tends to be an increase in violence in the area. I'm curious, though, what your theory is about what the cause of that is. Do you think they're desensitized or,
Yeah, and so there have been some studies that do suggest, as you said, they've confirmed that violence does increase once the slaughterhouse moves into town. And there have been a lot of theories thinking that it's just because there are more people who move into town. There's job disruptions. That the people, thought maybe it's the brutality of the business. We know that slaughterhouse workers are not treated well at all. So these are the kinds of theories that were brought up. But one researcher really took this idea head on, and she wanted to find out if just inflicting violence of animals could be the cause, or a cause of violence that seeps into society. And so she did a very in-depth study that found a strong correlation between the violence inflicted on animals and the violence that other forms of violence in those same towns where the slaughterhouse was. So what she did was she compared the towns where there were slaughterhouses with towns where there were other types of industry that were just as stressful or hard or dangerous for the workers, and where there was still, this disruption. So basically everything else was equal in a sense, except for the cruelty towards animals.
Wow.
And with the slaughterhouses, she found that, her study really suggests that it was cruelty towards animals that really does lead significantly to other forms of cruelty, especially abuse of women and children.
Wow. Can you believe that?
It's, what's really frustrating in a sense is that, her study was done, several years ago, but there hasn't been any other follow-up. So, the most we can say is this is one study. It was a well-done study. It was a very large study, but other social scientists aren't tackling this issue, aren't looking into this, even though there's a very real possibility that the violence we inflict on other animals is causing violence among humans as well.
Do you suppose that the reason that there aren't more studies is because we as a culture are so invested in the money that can be made from eating and creating meat and animal product for people to buy?
I think, that's a very a good point, and I think that's definitely a big part of it. I also think that it's not just that we think, I'm making money off of this industry, but you think about it, most people are eating animals, right? And so even social scientists, they're eating animals, so it's difficult for them to take a look at an issue where you could argue that they're a bit of a culprit in this, if this is true, right? If violence towards animals, cruelty towards animals does cause cruelty among humans, then each of us who is supporting this violence towards animals, we're kind of culpable in a sense. Whether, not directly, not necessarily because we purposefully are culpable, but in a sense we are. So I think it's a hard question for many people to take a look at for that reason.
Yeah, it's inconvenient. People don't want to change their behaviors and
exactly.
They don't want to limit their meals, for example, or whatever. So it's almost an ignorance is bliss type situation.
Exactly. But as you know, there's a huge. We've gotten to this threshold now where we're seeing all these like lab grown meats and plant-based products that are really taking off now, and even Burger King's now going to have the Impossible Burger. So I think that that reason to not look at animals because we eat them is going to become less and less of an issue over time.
Do those shifts make you optimistic that people will be consuming less meat?
Absolutely. It's good for the animals. It's good for the planet. We know that, and it's good for our health. And as a physician, I can tell you that we're dying at younger and younger ages of strokes and heart disease and many forms of cancer, which are very much related to how we eat.
So if you don't want to do it for the animals, maybe you could convince people to do it for themselves, right?
Right.
I was utterly fascinated by your visit with the serial killer. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that as well. And I thought you did such a good job of, convincing him to open up to you. I mean, was that really difficult for you to handle?
I sort of developed, in a sense, a kind of a relationship with Keith Jesperson, who had killed 8 women, is now serving at the Oregon State Penitentiary. And I reached out to him because as one of the questions was not only to look at, how our empathy for animals is good for our well-being, but also to look at what happens when we suppress our empathy for animals, or how is it that we're able to suppress our empathy for animals? And when we do so, is that bad for our well-being, not only as individuals, but as a society? So I started by looking at extreme cases of violence, such as a serial killer, And I really wanted to go beyond just the studies, the published studies, which don't provide a lot of information on the issue, but talk to someone, one-on-one, and learn about this person's past. And as you said, try to get this person to open up to me, to really explore how his past behavior towards animals may have influenced who he became later on and how he was able to kill women in such a brutal fashion. And so when I reached out to Keith Jesperson, he was the funny thing about with him, and I guess this is what you're going to encounter with a lot of these folks, is he was very suspicious throughout the beginning, and he kind of tried to manipulate me and tried to play games with me, and really was trying to push me to come and visit him in jail. And for a long time, I really didn't want to. I thought we were doing well just proceeding with phone calls and letters. And so there was that part that I had to deal with. There was the part of just learning about his violence. He would go into details of his violence towards animals. And then when I finally did go and visit him, hearing the details about his violence towards women was really, really hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, was to hear him talk about these issues. But it was really important to do, because even he proved to me that even I had a bias, a preconceived notion of what I would hear from him. I thought I was going to hear from him that he had only bad relationships with animals as a child, that he was always cruel to animals. But I found out that was definitely not the case. He had some very poignant moments of empathy towards animals, which really stood out. And so that allowed me to really explore, so he had this innate empathy. He really did as a child. He had this compassion, this innate empathy. And so with him, I was able to explore what happened to that empathy?
Yeah.
How did it get squashed? What pressures, what societal pressures, family pressures, and other things caused him to suppress that empathy and do the things he did to animals, and then later do the things he did to the women.
And I know you describe it in the book, but it is just hard for me to wrap my head around how that made sense to him. That, for example, this animal's a pet and is sacred and shouldn't be harmed, but these other animals were fair game.
Yeah, but you think about it. So his attitude isn't so different from the attitude of our society, right?
Yeah,
we say what we do to a dog, or what we don't allow people to do to a dog, we allow them to do to chickens or pigs, or or if they're, I would never put poison down my dog's throat, or society would never allow anyone to do that to their companion dog or cat, but we allow researchers to do it all the time in laboratories.
Yeah.
So, we have this very schizophrenic relationship with animals. Mm-hmm. It's not consistent by any means. It's really pretty random. It's not logical. And Keith was really just reflecting that societal attitude.
Do you think that Keith could potentially be rehabilitated in that way, in terms of the empathy being suppressed? Can that be undone?
Not with him. I don't think so. Not at this point. He still had some moments of empathy. Ultimately he wanted my friendship. Mm-hmm. And I think he's a lonely man. And, and I think that would drive his need to be close with people and to have that companionship would kind of drive some of his behavior in a way to help suppress some of his violent tendencies that he's developed. But I don't think they would stay suppressed for long. Yeah. It's become too much a habit of his. That way of thinking has become such a deeply ingrained part of who he is, that at this point, I don't think that he could be rehabilitated. And I think that's probably the way with most people. If you've done that kind of violent killing, inflicted that kind of cruelty towards another, I think there's a point when there's no return. And with Keith, there was definitely that point.
Well, on the flip side, it was encouraging to hear the ways that introducing animals in a prison setting can be helpful to the well-being of the inmates. And I felt like maybe we should be doing that more often. Do you agree?
And thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So even though I say with Keith, I don't think he can be rehabilitated. You're right. In the book, I do explore where many other prisoners, including murderers, have been rehabilitated through their relationships with animals. And there have been programs bringing animals into prison settings to draw out that compassion and increase that compassion in prisoners. And it's been quite successful in many, many cases. These programs have been very successful. And I explore the one that started it all basically in the United States, which was back in the 1970s. And it was started at one of the most notorious and cruel penal institutions in the country, actually in the world at the time, which was the Ohio State Penitentiary, or the Ohio State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. And there, maybe I think we were dealing with people who have not, even though there's some of these people who are rehabilitated were murderers, they weren't murderers in the way that Keith is a murderer.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to say this. Keith believed he had a justification in his head for why these women need to be murdered, just like he had a justification for why each animal that he brutalized, why each one, was why he can do that and why society would approve. And so I'm not sure that was the case with these other folks, these other prisoners who were rehabilitated with animals. I don't think they were quite as extreme as Keith was. So I think there's a point when animals can rehabilitate violent people, but then there's a point where I don't think some violent people just, no matter what, they can't be rehabilitated.
Yeah, it's a different situation. Well,
yes.
What do you think it is about animals? And you talk about it a lot in the book, but just for the listeners, what do you think it is about them that is so therapeutic for humans?
Animals, they're not humans, and so that's a good thing. And I think that's the very unique role that they play in our lives. We love our husbands or wives or spouses. We love our children. We love our parents. But even as we can love all these other people in our lives, they can cause us great pressure. They can tick you off. You can get really angry at them. They can do things that really annoy you. But with animals, it's not quite the same. They don't cause that same type of pressure. They don't cause that pressure in our lives, right? My mother, I can love her, but she can just drive me crazy at the same time. And, with my cats, I don't get that. I just get love. My cat may throw up a hairball or something like that, but, that's a minor thing. That's a minor problem. But, it's otherwise it's love. And so I think they release that human-generated pressure in our lives. They help us to stop and be in the moment.
Yeah.
And they help us to step out of our very, very human-centric lives. Mm-hmm. Kind of, in a sense, help see the world, larger than we tend to see it. We see the world. We're so egotistical in a sense that so much of our lives we think revolve around us. But with animals, we see that there's more to the world than just us. And I think that's actually ultimately good for us.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, a lot of the things you're reporting in the book are things that people that have pets or that love animals already know, but it's so fun to read all the different types of people that are benefiting from animals in their lives. You did such a good job with that.
There were a lot of people. Yeah, thank you so much. There were a lot of people, a lot of interesting characters that I met, including the former mobster, who was very much an interesting character. He was just like you'd expect a mobster to be when I met him, James Giuliani. And his story was really quite remarkable, too, and how he just was spiraling down in life, a drug and alcohol addict, and just a very very self-involved. He was, he never thought about others. He was so, involved in his own life and just very egotistical and self-involved. But it was an encounter with one abused dog that changed his life completely. And now he's dedicated his life to helping animals. It's really quite a remarkable story.
It really is. And just that animals don't care if you're poor or a criminal or whatever. They love you all the same. And I thought you did such a good job of representing all those different types of people that can get the benefits. I was wondering while you were writing the book, if there was anything that you learned that really surprised you.
So the two things that really surprised me, one was the Keith Jesperson. So as I mentioned, I really expected all his relationships with animals to have been negative. And I found some really, really surprising moments of empathy, truly surprising moments of empathy, and that really surprised me. And I think it made it for a better story as well, because there were these nuances to Keith that I hadn't thought of. Ugh. And the other was the trip to the factory farm in Oklahoma, the first one, the chicken farm, how the farmer and his family, how they were able to justify confining the chickens in these cages and in these horrible, disgusting conditions. And on one hand, and yet on another hand, how they were so distraught about killing the chickens in the end. And, how they described that one time when they didn't have to kill the chickens, they went out to celebrate. And so there were these two sides of this family, and I thought that was really interesting. So they really surprised me as well. And I think I would say that with most of the people I met, it was never just a pure black and white story. There were nuances and subtleties to their personalities and to their stories that I think reflect all of us. That in how we think about animals, there's always conflicts in how we think about one animal versus another, and this really came through as I was getting to know these people.
Right, humans are complicated, man.
I know.
Right? Like we don't make sense.
Right? We're not logical. We're not consistent at all. We're very complicated, but and I think that's why we seek out other animals, because they're not.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that they don't have unique personalities and behaviors that are sometimes inconsistent and things like that, but they're no way as
they don't have an agenda.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. They're just not like us, and that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. I think that's why so many people say they preferred animals to humans, and I get that.
Yeah. They're good company.
Okay, so we always ask all of our guests one last question, which is, what do you keep in the trunk of your car if you have a car?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I have a blanket in case the car breaks down in the middle of winter.
Yes.
I have water bottles, and I have what my husband has labeled as the critter rescue kit.
Of course you do. What's in there?
Of course I do. So it's some kind of box. It could be a large box with holes in it, smaller boxes, towels, and some other types of blankets. So I can't tell you how many times I have come across animals hurt on the road.
Really?
And oh my God, most people drive by animals on the road, and they don't stop to think about these animals, but so many of them, unfortunately, they're still alive on the road, and they're suffering. And so I've come across so many. I've seen so many drivers run over animals and not even pause. They just kept going. And there was no way they would have not known that they hit an animal.
Right.
And so, I've, in my life, and I've many times stopped and pulled over and had to, and grab these animals, put them in these boxes or these crates that I've had, and rush them to the emergency veterinary hospital. Usually there's, once in a while there's something that can be done. Usually there's nothing that could be done for them. But at the very least, relieve them of their suffering. Otherwise, they're just going to linger on the road for God knows how long. So yeah, I always I come across animals all the time, on the road. So yeah, I definitely have the critter rescue
You're
kit.
so nice. It's such a nice thing to do. Wow.
Oh, thank you so much. One of the things that really is heartening for me is when some people, it gets hard. You see people intentionally, I've seen people intentionally drive over animals or just not give a damn about them. But then sometimes there are people who will stop and will help me.
Aww.
And that's really, that makes me people. There was one young man who was trying to help a groundhog, and he stopped and he spent an hour with me trying to get this groundhog in my car.
Oh my God.
And, I wouldn't have been able to do it alone. And I was so grateful for this person to do this. It's those people who help keep us going.
You must be really baffled by people that don't show that kind of care for animals. Do you think about it a lot?
I do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think about it too much. It can cause pessimism.
Yes.
But then, like I said, I meet people like you, like this kid who stopped to help me get the groundhog. I meet people all the time who have this inherent kindness for animals, and they're the ones that keep me going. They're the ones that inspire me to keep doing what I'm doing.
I often think that people who really don't like animals, there must be something going on beyond just a preference. It seems like, I don't know, maybe they didn't have any exposure to animals, so they're scared of them. I don't know.
There's always some of that. And, it's funny because we judge people by how they are with animals, don't we? We know, we kind of know that someone who is not good with animals, there's something not quite right with that person.
Yeah.
If the person is cruel to animals, then we know that there's something wrong there. And back to the Victorian era, people, educators, really were really promoting teaching children kindness by giving them companion animals. And they knew that it was not just by having that exposure to companion animals, these children were not just learning how to be kind to the other animals, but also to other humans. And so we know that how we treat animals really does reflect and impact how we treat each other.
Hey, I have a question. Do you know how people, are increasingly bringing emotional support animals on airplanes and stuff?
Right.
What do you think of that? Are you super into it? You feel like everybody should have one, or do you think it's overboard? What is your opinion?
I think in one hand, some of it's a little overboard.
Like the peacock. I think there was a peacock at one point.
There's probably a good middle ground. I think some people really do. They really do get help with their companion animals. It doesn't matter what kind of animal that is. It could be a pig, a chicken. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? If they feel love and comfort with that animal, that's all that matters. At the same time, I think that a lot of people might rush to that a little too quickly. And my concern is they may rush to getting a companion animal for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to get a companion animal because you think this companion animal is going to do something specific for you, that may not always work. And, hopefully these people don't then get rid of those animals, that they brought into their lives and turn them over to a shelter. So that's part of my concern as well.
Yeah, that's funny. That's fascinating. That just came to me and I wanted to know. But anyway, I'm so glad that I got to read Our Symphony with Animals. Our listeners are going to love it. I can't wait to hear their thoughts on it. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I guess, actually, yes, there is. I think, ultimately my hope was to make this book an overall inspiring book. So I hope that's how you read it. It was, even though there were some things that were a little difficult to read, I wanted this to be a very hopeful book and a book about how we are becoming more compassionate as a species. So just that, I guess, and also just to thank you so much for reading the book.
Oh, I loved it. It was hopeful. It was inspiring. And hopefully a lot of people read it and learn all the ways that we're blessed to have animals and the things we can do to help them in the world. So thank you for writing it.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.